Yeah, £2. So anyway, let's end that conversation. Yeah. Anyway,
yes.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday service. It's Sunday night's interesting modelling company thing, live show. Hello, live from North Somerset and live from
South Somerset.
South Somerset, yeah, on the Dorset border. Yes.
Oh, dear. You won, by the way.
I won. I did win. Thank you. I won. Thank you. Coincidentally, tonight, this wasn't planned. It's that when we both entered the studio tonight, Drew decided to have his Serenity background, his Firefly background, rather. And well, I've been out for a really horribly sweaty 5-mile walk this afternoon. Needed a fresh T-shirt, so I just I thought I'd pop along tonight and save every one of you. So on that note, anyway, how are you, Miss? Are you DM? Huh?
There's no power in the verse can stop him. I'm very well. I'm actually kind of getting modelling done.
We'll have less of that on this channel. Thank you very much.
Nobody is more surprised than me. It kind of, whilst being amusing in its own right, there's a kind of a bit of a serious aspect to that we've been sort of dealing with over the last few days and weeks and stuff. In that I've had to take a step back from my YouTube channel to get modelling done. Because the live stuff for me, I really enjoy doing this live stuff because we sit here and talk for an hour and people watch and comment, and that's great. I was finding I'd only completed 3 models this year, which, as you will confirm, for me, 3 models by June in 1 year is pathetic.
I think you usually bang out 3 models when you come and visit here. So,
but what I was finding, John, was that on the YouTube channel, I spent so long messing around with camera setups, and then I end up spending 20 or 25 hours editing footage into a half-hour-long video for YouTube. And you're not getting, and honestly, whilst it's good and it's fun and I'm proud of what I do on there, it doesn't get enough hits to really justify me spending 25 hours editing a half-hour of footage when I could be sticking bits of plastic together, which is why I do this.
This is why when I finally get hold of my Panasonic VX F1 camera, and I start doing, because I've got some ideas for some interesting Modelling Co shorts. They are literally going to be 2-3 minute short videos, short pre-recorded videos, just explaining, silly little tricks and hacks, as they call them, things like that. But they are going to be short.
That I suspect that may be a way forward, because by no means do I want to close down or abandon my YouTube channel, but I need to find a way of creating content on there that works for me as a modeler as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm finding that if I sit down and spend 3 or 4 hours editing on one day, then I don't want to go to my desk and do any modeling.
Yeah.
And then and so that means that the reason I'm here, which is to build models. So having decided a week and a half ago to take a seat back from there, I've since completed 2 models and I'm sort of halfway through a third. So
let's go live to your workbench at the moment, where I understand you're building. Well, we'll talk about the Ryan later on, but you are currently working on that XSE.
Yes, the
MB326.
XSE MB326. So let's switch to another camera view a second. This is the. I started this last evening. Now, bearing in mind that this is a build for Mr. Farmer at the hobby company, I can't do anything with it. It's got to be, more or less what's in the box. I might add some seat straps from masking tape or something, but outside of that, everything you see is what you get. But that is less than a day's work so far, and here we are. Great little model. But the point here is I've been able to. I've been sitting down and just building.
Yeah.
Not being distracted by anything else. So I think it's like I say, I need to find a way of working with the media side of it that works for my hobby, if you understand what I mean, rather than leaving me no time to pursue my hobby, which ultimately will mean there's no content anyway. You know, it's not even a double-edged sword. If I don't create content, if I don't build models, I don't create content.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I don't create content because I'm not building models, then there's no channel anyway. So, you know,
it's one of the themes that I am. Gratuitous plug time. It's one of the themes that I am developing for the next op-ed for Brett's for Brett for MAI, and that is my working title is, are we allowed to enjoy this hobby? And I think perhaps we'll talk about that midweek actually as a broader discussion. But it's just one of those things is that I did recorded a podcast last night with Stuart Clark for the Scale Models podcast, and it was one of the themes that I said that in this hobby you tend to have three distinct types. There are the glass half empty, the glass half full, and I didn't even ask for a glass in the first place, and
very much so.
And I am very much the annoyingly chipper glass half full. Isn't this a fabulous hobby? Let's all make models, hurrah, hurrah! And probably it's kind of like nails going down a blackboard, Whereas other people they don't seem to derive any joy from this hobby whatsoever. Anyway, look, we'll talk about another time.
Just a quick one, just looking from the comments. To Lee Suter or Sauter, I'm not sure how that pronunciation is. Just look for Drew Manton on YouTube, Lee. Just type my name in as you see it here into the search terms on YouTube, and you'll get my channel back.
Well, we can do better than that. We're going to go live to YouTube. This is very professional. This you can tell we didn't do this. Here we go. Is that that's the one? Yep. So bear with me. Videos. Here we go. Right. So we're going to just type it, cut and paste. And there we go. It is YouTube/user/dmanton300/videos. And there you will find, actually, if I do a quick share screen, share Chrome tab.
Good Lord, how embarrassing.
There we go. And there you go. Look, there you go. There is the whole list of his demands. So
panoply of a video entertainments for your edification.
Do you know what? I've just suddenly realised I do need to go and order some of that VMS varnish because everybody's raving about it. And yeah,
I might have ordered them this week.
Well, I want to do an order to get that and the shaper paper, but everywhere I try for the shaper paper, they haven't got any of it. So
look, I ordered some fresh this week.
Yeah.
Well, and in actual fact, to be honest, I thought I was going to really work through this bottle varnishing the Hercules, and it took, I think I maybe used 10 or 15 mil on the Hercules in total, which out of a 50 mil bottle is, not nearly as bad as I perhaps had led myself to expect. But that said, now I've got spares. So
always have contingency, because I suddenly realise now I am now down to only 2 bottles of each of my Mr. Colour thinners, and I always have them in triplicate.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately I've still got a lot of the Tamiya lacquer and lacquers thinners here. From the hobby company, so I'm using that interchangeably with Mr. Colour's normal, and I've still got a few bottles of the Rapid and the Leveling. So
a message from Tim here. He says, "I sent you the paper for your birthday." Tim, you sent me the shaping liquid, but not the paper. I did check the package thoroughly, and all that was in there was a protected thing of the paper shaper liquid, but not the actual paper. So if you sent both, then I couldn't find it, and unfortunately it's long gone into the recycling, so I do apologize for that. But he definitely bought me the paper shaper liquid. Anyway, that's just personal stuff there. We'll go through later on. We'll just go through the entire list of birthday presents, because it was about 3. Anyway,
Thank
that's
you very much, Dave. That's very kind of you, Dave. Thank you. It was.
What was that?
It was what Dave said about my Can You Mix Stein Res video. It was. It was more in frustration than.
Oh, that long, tedious video you made. Yes. Well, perhaps we'll pop that up on a midweek show. Let's do some news, shall we? Let's do some news.
Go on, then. Go on, then.
News. Right. We're Gecko have announced they're doing. Well, you want to talk about this? You talk about this. Go on. Go on.
I don't really, because up until sort of a half an hour ago, this is one of those vehicles that had, I'm sure I've seen it around, but never really paid any attention to it. It's the Lark C, which is a United States light amphibious wheeled vehicle. And it's like almost like a post-war duck, isn't it?
No, wrong one.
Oh, wrong one. Oh,
wrong
no.
One. We'll get the right one up in a minute.
Now you've given it away.
This way.
But it's almost like a duck, isn't it? It's like a post-war duck in that it's just an amphibious Jeep type design from the 1950s with just a little diesel engine and fully amphibious and used by quite a lot of countries as well.
Yes, I was looking this up on Wikipedia, and apparently it's. Sorry, we got it now, have we? There we go.
We've got it. Yeah, we've got it.
It's because the tabs don't name themselves. It's really annoying. This is used by Argentina, Australia, Germany, Iceland, the country, not the supermarket, Philippines, Portugal, Singapore, and of course the United States. Used by the U.S. Navy and the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Just having a quick read of this. Apparently, it's developed in the 1950s, and it's essentially it's got capability of transporting 5 tons. But what Gecko have done here is this is the updated one as part of the US Navy Life Extension Program, which essentially has uprated its engine and it's kind of
isn't it?
towing capabilities.
But also looking at the pictures, there was a rather that's a very different front end, isn't it? There was a rather natty Australian one in the modern Australian camouflage I saw. I thought, I say. So it's kind of, and that gives you an idea that it's not actually as small as you might expect, because that rib is not, a rib that isn't a small boat.
No.
So that gives you an idea that the vehicle isn't.
This apparently is a bonus feature that they're including in the kit for this for the rib itself, but it's. I mean, what I was talking about, the fact that there just seems to be so many kit manufacturers out there these days, and stuff turns up and it's, it just gets lost in the absolute kind of like cacophony of new kit releases there are every week, almost every day. Sometimes it seems. I've not seen or built anything by Gecko, and it's one of the
or something. Didn't they?
Sorry, say again.
Didn't they do Crusaders or some British? No,
that's Border. I'm trying to think. I think it was Amusing who did the Centurion variant. If I'm getting confused and people are sitting there banging their heads against the wall screen saying, "Goodness me, man, get your kit companies right." This proves the point. Is there's so many of them these days. It's like, is that so? No, it sounds so. But certainly Gecko. They're a company I need to, I think we need to investigate to, get one of their kits and, really ping it up on the page and have a really good look at it. But this, again, old Johnny half glass full here. This looks fabulous, doesn't it? Yes,
I'm actually I've become really taken with it in the last 5 minutes. As Pavel says, it's a big vehicle, and looking at that box art, it doesn't look big. And my first thought when I saw it was, with apologies for the pronunciation, it looked like a modern ostrich schlepper. And then I went, it's not that big. And now looking at it, certainly in the above views, I'm thinking, well, it ain't that much smaller either. It's very long. Very long. It looks very compact there.
That's the angle.
Yeah, it looks, it looks sort of slightly bigger than a Land Rover, like one of the Cougars or something like that the British Army used. But no, it's actually considerably bigger than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gecko, there you go. Gecko do British cruiser tanks. I knew they'd done something.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Gecko do. Yeah, there we go. We'll get there in the end, people. It's just so
idiots, Johan. I don't
know. There are, like I say, there are so many kit companies out there. We just, we lose track, frankly.
Let's put it this way, with that as a subject, looking at it, I wouldn't buy it, but if one were to find its way across my desk, I wouldn't be averse to some Australian camouflage. But it hasn't piqued my interest enough to say I would buy it. But there's plenty of people out there who quite clearly it would work for. But no, really interesting subject, and I like the fact that we're getting these really, like the
quirky,
like the Tamiya Gamma Goat. Who would have ever expected, a kit of that or something like that? And we're getting too right, Dave.
Right, we need to make sure we know what the comments are rather than reacting to them. So let's have a look. Right, fair enough. Yep.
So yeah, I like the fact there's a lot of quirky subjects coming out, and it's sort of it's keeping people's interest up, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I say, I just continue to be amazed at the sheer breadth and depth of releases out there.
I think it's quite important that we bear in mind that whilst there's kind of a quorum of people who are always saying, oh no, not another Spitfire, oh no, not another 109, oh no, not another Panther. You have to look at the kind of breadth of stuff that is being released, and those core subjects are but a fraction of what's being released these days.
Well, for those who say, oh no, Pete, not another 109, not another 109, not another 190, not another Spitfire, not another Hurricane, not another Mustang. Well, oh no, not another Dragon Rapide. Oh, Dragon Rapide. Now this is Armory, another company that is entirely an unknown quantity to me. I've never seen any of their kits, but I have noticed. I had a look on their Facebook page this week, and they've got a slew of new releases coming out. This one, it's a injection molded 48 scale kit of the de Havilland DH89A Dragon Rapide. I think it's probably fair to say one of the most beautiful looking biplanes ever built.
Well, it's de Havilland, isn't it? They didn't. I mean, they didn't get much wrong ever, did they?
No.
And it's just it is a beautiful, beautiful aeroplane, isn't it? And it's still one that you see flying around occasionally today, don't you? They're used for pleasure flights and stuff like that. So it's one of those aircraft that perhaps, like the Tiger Moth, has stood the test of time remarkably well. I mean, it's obviously not in commercial service, but quite a few of them around being used for pleasure and experience flights and stuff like that. So I'd love a go on one.
Well, I have a family connection to this, in as much as, according to my late father, the Dragon Rapide was the first aeroplane he ever had a flight in. So it's just, I just think it's just an utterly gorgeous looking aeroplane. I mean, I've been up close to them at air shows. I think I remember crawling over one at Rawton 30 years ago, and I built the Hella kit, which is a beautiful kit as well.
I've got a Hella kit not 10 feet away from me now, on the stash in my other room, and an original boxing as well. The original box art,
original black boxing. I've got one of those as well. Yeah, it's a fabulous subject though. So, and like I say, Armory are doing this, full on injection molded kit in 1/48 scale. So I await this one with great interest to see what this is going to be like, because this is clearly not, we say that this hobby is a broad church. This clearly isn't a kit aimed at the mass market end. This is an enthusiast end kit.
No, from what I've seen of Armory kits, they're fantastically well detailed, accurate, but they do demand that the modeler be happy to model.
Yeah.
Rather than it's not it's not a Tamiya Phantom, shall we say?
No.
it is going to require something of you to get the best results. But if it builds half as good as the renders look,
it's I don't think they've made any mention yet at the moment on what schemes are going into this. But boy, schemes! I mean, so many schemes you can slap on a drag and repeat.
Didn't the AA operate them? Was it
the AA? Sorry?
Didn't the AA or the RAC?
The AA operated them. I think it was part of the Railway Air Services.
Right.
I've got a book here on it actually. There's just some fabulous schemes, civil, military. I do even believe that they were operating in the Spanish Civil War as well, in kind of motley camouflage. So, yeah, big thumbs up for this one. So we'll be keeping an eye out on this and see what it's like when it's released. We've no idea on the price or anything, but we can keep our fingers crossed that it looks as good as the renders, because that just looks like an absolute winner for Armory. So
I think it's fair to say that as a kit not aimed at the beginner, it's probably not going to be massively cheap either.
No,
but it's probably going to be fairly easy if you're an enthusiast of the aircraft. It's probably going to be fairly easy to justify buying it. The previous stuff I've seen of theirs, I've been close to buying. I haven't for various reasons, but I would say the price hasn't been off-putting as such. So we'll see. But no, nice subject. I like it.
Now, the funny thing is Patrick made John Patrick Huston made a comment a little bit while back where he said something about, we were talking about the slew of new releases, and he said, here we go, 0 cheap kits, which, well, we are now coming to a kit which retails at around about the £15 mark, doesn't it? Ish, which is the Armour Wildcat. Now they do them in kind of like basic form, and they do them in like Edward's special.
Yeah,
form.
I mean you'll get the this is the F4 they're planning to release as the next release, and they tend to they'll do a basic boxing with like 2 options in it. They'll do this, which will be the expert set, which will have like 6 color scheme options, etched brass, masks, all that kind of stuff, and that will retail for probably around £17 or £18. Whereas the basic one, which will just have a couple of schemes in it, will be about 12 or 13. Which is, I think, is absolutely justifiable. That's not an expensive model. It's people still tend to think of cheap models as being in the £5 to £6 mark, which you can find if you look around. But if you want serious quality, it's it does inevitably cost a little bit more. But you just, with this kind of thing, you just simply can't go wrong.
No.
You can't go wrong. I'm seeing 2 cowlings there as well.
I was just going to say, I'm seeing 2 cowlings here.
And this is where we immediately start picking picking the models apart. But Armour Hobby have said they intend to hopefully complete the Wildcat family. So they did the F4, F5 last year, which is, or the FM2 as it better known, the General Motors FM2, which is my favourite variant of the Wildcat and one I've been waiting for a long time. I've got about 6 of them on the stash. I haven't built one yet, remarkably enough. And they said that in the coming year, sort of 2021, they will do the F4, F4, which is kind of the first folding winged variant of the Wildcat. It's still got the shorter tail, very, very widely produced, very widely used by the Fleet Air Arm. And they've said that they intend to go forward with the F4, F3 and stuff in due course, which means hopefully we'll be able to do some of the model whatever that the Royal Navy first obtained and the French first obtained, which is obviously one of the ones which is that Fleet Air Arm Museum in Yeovilton, one of the restored ones. And there you go, there's the one with the different cowling. That's the Martlet with a different cowling.
Mhm.
So I just think Armour Hobby are just absolutely killing it at the moment. They really are. Because this is one of, they've got, what else have they got coming this year? 48 scale Hurricane, 72nd scale P51 Bs and Cs. They are just absolutely killing it. And
they are knocking it out of the park, as the expression goes.
Beautiful models. They are.
Yeah, I mean, I've
stunning models.
I picked up the Wildcat Mark 6, which is just here on the in the corner of the workshop here. I picked that up a few weeks ago when I was up at Antics, because I've been dying to get hold of one of these for ages because I'm a big Wildcat fan, and I think I paid about 15 quid for it. It's a standard one, but it really is just utterly gorgeous. And it's, it is.
Look at that.
I think it's fair to say it is kind of like touching on Tamiya quality, isn't it?
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And there's your two cowlings there. Look, you've just seen the two cowlings there. They're just, 15, 16 pounds for a model of this quality is not big money.
No,
it seriously isn't. You're going to get several weeks of enjoyment from that model. I think they are genuinely great value for money.
Yeah,
they really are.
Once I get a gap in my schedule here, I'm going to bang the Armour Wildcat I've got here, because
I've had the FM2s. I've had a bunch of those on my stash for a year, but again, it's been one of those, as we discussed, with personal stuff for me and all that. I just haven't been able to get round to one.
Perhaps what we need to do then is actually set ourselves a kind of like a slight challenge of just saying, right, we both grab our Wildcats at a certain stage and 10 days to bang it out from start to finish.
Which I'm sure you could do with that model, no problem at all.
No, I'm sure you could do it in half the time. But the one that I've got here, it's got options for just an overall blue Royal Navy one in Far East markings, which gorgeous. Lovely. In fact, I was reading.
I got a Tech Mod decal sheet covering a lot of the Sea Blue Fleet Air Arm twos. So I would certainly be picking one of the Sea Blue options.
Yeah. Mike Williams says, having built the Armour Wildcat and Hurricane in 72nd scale, they really are the benchmark kits for the types. Thank you, Mike. That's a very good observation. And Christian Gerard says, may I ask a question, gentlemen? Gentlemen, how dare he? The UK, well, I've never been so insulted in my life. The UK is probably the country with the most. The UK is probably the country with the most aviation publishers and one of the largest modelling communities worldwide. Right. Waiting for the next part of that question, Christian. Do you know what? I would say it's one of, but I would say in terms of the most aviation publishers and the largest modelling communities, we pale into insignificance compared to the Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that these days it's got a lot more insular again, so we're not quite seeing the same volume of stuff from Japan that we saw maybe 10 or 15 years ago. It's not easy to order stuff from Japan anymore. It's not easy to get stuff from Japan. A lot of the model companies have become very much more insular in their choice and their marketing. But that said, in Japan, the hobby is absolutely enormous. It's a country of 125 million people. And a lot of modelers amongst them, a lot of hobbyists. They've got a very different cultural mindset towards hobbies in Japan, where it's not quite. Whereas we're seen as a bit nerdy in the West for pursuing this as a hobby, and quite happy to be seen as such. In Japan, it's very much the mainstream. It just is part of the mainstream.
What on earth is nerdy about two middle-aged men, one with a Firefly backdrop and one wearing a Flash T-shirt? What on earth is nerdy about that? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I know I leap to these sorts of judgments.
I don't get it.
It's weird, isn't it? There'll be a Star Trek one next week, or a Galaxy Quest one.
That's tempting. It is tempting to get the old Pickard. Get the old Pickard top on, I haven't got one, but it's tempting to get one because I quite fancy going shopping in Lidl dressed as Captain Pickard just to annoy people. But
please don't.
Anyway,
No.
and then kind of like when they open the till, I just go communications open or something like that. Hailing frequencies open, something like that. See, I messed it up. Anyway,
I think outside of Japan, we probably have the most active in-print publications market.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair
stuff. I think we've certainly got the most active one of those, and that kind of carries through into perhaps a social media presence. Basically, there's probably not that many of us, but we're very, very loud.
Exactly. Well, let's jump back again to we're jumping back to Armory again. And now this is a new.
Look at John. Look at John's comment. Pull John Patrick Houston's comment. What? That's because France knows what it's doing, John.
It's knowing the difference between the cost of everything and the value of nothing. I think it's the saying. That saying goes. Anyway, that's we have a new another kit from Armory here. Now this is a variation on an existing kit, but it's a beautiful variation on an existing kit. And has he got the right one? Yes, he has. It's their 48 scale Fairy Flycatcher, but they're doing the float plane version.
What can I say? Now, you have my attention.
The Fairy Flycatcher is it's probably my favorite biplane of all time because it is just so quirky. It's a bit of a hot rod, this one, isn't it? It's just kind of weird little canted up fuselage, but by all accounts, an incredibly effective aeroplane.
But I said not 5 minutes ago that one of Armory's previous releases caught my attention, but I never got around to buying it. It was the Flycatcher. I very, very nearly bought the original Flycatcher. I think it runs nearly, about £40, I think it was, somewhere around there new, which, was enough to give me pause, but not because I didn't think it was value for money, but because I wasn't sure when I'd ever get around to building it.
Yeah.
Which is, there's kind of sometimes if something is genuinely expensive, but you're going to build it immediately, you'll just pay for it. It's not a problem. I was a bit more circumspect about paying that sort of money for something which is just going to hit the top of my stash and perhaps stay there until it's immediately replaced by something else. Looking at you, Dora Wings Block MB151, which was bought in a fit of peak last year and has since languished unstarted. So again, fantastic subject. Now I really like the floats as well. They really gives it a real interwar feel, doesn't it?
I mean, I've always liked the Flycatcher since I first came across it as a sub-bit, but also I've got one of the many subsequent boxings of the original Impact kit from the 1960s. I think mine is it's probably a Lindbergh boxing. Essentially, the molds ended up in the States and they were reissued by Lifelike, Pyro. They've gone through a whole iteration of different companies. I think Round 2 have them now, and they're issued under the Lindbergh label. If you've never seen one of these Impact, INPACT kits from the 1960s, they were massively ahead of their time. They really were incredibly well detailed and accurate kits during an era when things tended to be a bit clunky and a bit rivety. But obviously, this Armory kit, it's night and day. This is a 21st century tooling, and it shows. But it's again, I'm going to sound like gushing fanboy here, but it's a fabulous subject. Look at it, isn't that?
I really like that. And is the spinner common on them?
No, I think that may have been a feature of the float plane version. Yeah,
but no, I'm really sort of on that cusp of saying, yeah, it's time I did actually buy one of these, and probably the float plane would be the one. And we'll see how my newfound enthusiasm for building stuff, or my newfound time for it, works over the next few weeks to a month or two, and then I'll kind of make a decision on whether or not I can, depending on what commitments we possibly have in that time. But no, it's a subject. It's a great little aeroplane, isn't it? It's a great. I love the interwar, the Fleet Air Arm stuff. You know, I love the Nimrod, the Flycatcher.
I say it's probably my second favourite interwar RAF aircraft from that period is probably the Gloucester Gamecock.
I like the Siskin. I really like the Siskin.
Christian asks, did the second part of my question arrived or not? No, I'm afraid it didn't, Christian. We had this part of your question, and then I'm afraid nothing else. So, well, if you wish to ask it, we will come back and answer your question after the next news segment, because, well, we're still on Armory, aren't we, Drew?
Yes, but I mean, we don't have a problem with still being an Armory, because it's one of those. It's one of those. What can we say? Mini art like weeks. So we've got no mini art to talk about. So Armory's picking up the slack this week. But this is a different genre. This is a little 72nd scale ZSU-23 Shilka, and this is the early 1970 variant of it. Yeah, again, you're never sure whether they're showing an assembled model or renders these days. I'm presuming that's a render, because the renders are done so well with like even a curve in the backdrop and stuff, aren't they? Sometimes you look at it and go, oh, is that a render or a? But it's it's one of those subjects. Thousands and thousands of these were made. It saw service, all through the Middle East, Vietnam, through any conflict, any war zone in the last 40 years will have had a Shilka somewhere. 423mm cannons, radar guided, deadly, very deadly. Many an aircraft came to grief at the hands of a Shilka, and this is a little 72nd scale model. So I'm always quite surprised. I do build 72nd scale armor quite a lot of the armor stuff I build, and it always surprises me how small it is in 72nd scale. These tend to be tiny, but if you look at the kind of detail that they're showing, what a great subject.
Yes, we were just talking before the show about this is probably more detailed than the 35th scale Dragon one, which is currently doing the rounds in the Zvezda boxings.
And it's an easier build as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's I mean, I think it's one of those Russian vehicles that certainly has a touch of the Jerry Andersons about it. But it was so ubiquitous throughout. Yeah.
All these users and stuff. But any kind of footage of conflicts happening, you didn't have to trawl through much of it to find a Shilka somewhere. Yeah.
I also like the fact that they include as a photo etch bit. It's one of those things that seems to be ubiquitous with Russian vehicles down the years. Is the saw?
Yeah, the saw.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean this. Yeah, it looks fabulous.
There's not a great deal we can say about it, because all we've got to look at the moment is box renders. But again, I would imagine you're probably looking at in the £15 to £20 mark for this. Mm-hmm. It's got a load of etch. It's all new tooling, and I think that would represent really good value at that.
I'm certainly going to be keeping my eye out for one of these, because it's I don't build that much modern Russian armor, but that's something that does interest me. It does.
Yes, yeah, it's a very, very interesting subject, and it's a great, and there's so many color schemes for it.
Right.
So many schemes.
Right. We can now pick up with Christian Scressy says, I wonder that no publisher from the UK releases very detailed monographs about jets like the ones from Reed Publishing, Daco, WWP, to name a few. The list of RAF, RN planes is very long.
In the past, been, yeah, I mean, we've, you know, the aero guides, the line rights aero guides and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess they would be the kind of our equivalent to Detail and Scale or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is that a fair observation? Possibly in the last couple of years, but certainly historically, there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, the stuff like the from the Cockpit series. Although they focused heavily on pilots' sort of reminiscences of flying, everything from a scimitar to a Buccaneer. They also focused quite heavily on the aircraft in question as well. So I think perhaps that's one area where we're not as vocal as some of the others. But yeah, I mean, stuff like Daco and the Reed Air publication stuff is beyond compare.
Yeah, and so Dave Swindle, historically, yeah, we had profile publications, we had war paint, we had, you know, things like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's, you know what, I've not really ever really given it that much thought. I tend to kind of like pick up books and read them, but their point of origin tends to be secondary to if they're any good or not. You know, and if somebody, you know, if a publisher from Germany does a very, very good book on RAF Phantoms, it's like,
yeah, you're going to buy the book. You don't care. You know, you don't care. You know, if Reed Air Publications did a book on the Typhoon, if it was, you know, the best publication out there on the Eurofighter Typhoon, I'm not really going to care where it came from.
Yeah, I think the honest answer to that, Christian, is that we honestly don't know. But certainly worth keeping an eye out.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah,
it's a
valid question. Yeah.
But and quite clearly, you can see from our sort of confused pile up of emotions about it, we don't really know. No, I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, certainly historically, there have been lots and lots and lots. But I mean, most of the Osprey range that's a British company, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, they had a massive range all through the early 2000s up to a couple of years ago. I think they're still publishing now. So yeah, interesting question.
That's a very interesting question. We'll get back to you on that one. We have no idea who he is, so we'll move on. Sorry,
Splitter.
This is like Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave.
Not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. He's
going anywhere.
Those cakes will bring him back. We got we're on to the final thing tonight.
He owes us cake.
It does, exactly. Just never forgiven us for the biscuit incident, but we'll, you know, I think as and when we'll have.
I think he's never forgiven himself.
I think that's an element of truth there. Let's move on swiftly now to a model that you actually have in front of you on Workbench, which is. Well, I'll go to the page and then
you go to the page and then we'll
okay. Now this is the ICM 148 scale BQM 34A brackets Q2C close brackets Firebee with trailer. This is another one of their fabulous drone models that they're doing, and if we just kind of like ping up the some of the illustrations here, this is the sleek one of the drones. This one really does look, it's going fast when it's on a trolley.
We'll cover this in a second. That's the medium sleek one.
Oh, the medium sleek one. There is a sleeker one.
There's an even sleeker one, yeah. But yeah, if we pop back to look, give me the screen.
I'm giving you the screen. Come on, man.
Screen. Yeah. So I mean, last week you saw we had a little look into this, which is the very early the Firebee 1, effectively. You know, a couple of thousand of them made and used over the years, and then during the week Mr. Hills, thank you, Mr. Hills from Antics, popped one of these in the post to me, and this is the Firebee 2, which wasn't a replacement for the Firebee 1. They kind of did a lot of, they served alongside each other. This drone's still in use today. From the 1950s to today, it's still being used. And just like the, I love the boxing that we're getting these days. It's a really, really sturdy box. I know that shouldn't matter, but it really does. So you've got this flip top box, like the Firebee 1. It's just 2 sprues. It's 2 very simple little sprues. A bit of a bigger drone than the Firebee 1. As you can see, obviously a lot sleeker, so a lot quicker. And used for many of the same roles, just when you needed a quicker version, really. But one thing I have noticed with this is that the wings on this are molded in 1 piece each, whereas on the BQM 34A or the Firebee 1 drone, they're in wings are in halves. They're split into halves. I don't know quite why the difference is, because they're exactly the same wing as far as I can tell. But yeah, beautifully detailed. Very, very simple. Again, we're looking at a quick weekend build for the most part. There's the actual drone itself with all the parts for a couple of different variants they include. Again, details like this hardback here for the carriage are just absolutely beautifully done. And I think I was trying to work out if they're doing a multiple boxing of this. No, they've done a multiple boxing of the Firebee 1 now. For those of you who want to put one on Invaders, you'd have to have 4 of these in a box of the 48 scale Hercules, which would be rather more of an undertaking at this point. But yeah, very simple, beautifully detailed, and you get a cart for it. I thought it was the same cart as the Firebee 1, but it's not. It's an entirely new sprue as well. This cart is much bigger wheels, chunkier all round, really, for the Firebee 2. Bit more of a comprehensive decal sheet, but hopefully you can see how nicely printed that is, with options for. You've got an overall red one, red Firebee. This is my chosen Firebee, which is red and yellow with bits of black on it and checks and all sorts. That's a US Navy one. And then there's another US Air Force, all red with little bits of yellow and black, but not as much. And then a very anonymous one. And I have to check. And this is from the 2000s. So this is a very, very recent, very recent variant, or in use, I should say. So yeah, I mean, a quick review. Ask any questions. But I think it's just such a great little subject. I think that's such just, you know, that is a real, that would be the palette cleanser.
Mm-hmm.
Very much a palette cleanser. I'm intending to start the BQM 34A, the Firebee 1, while I'm waiting for bits on that MB 326 to dry, because I think I could probably rattle through that in a couple of evenings. Again.
Here's the instruction sheet for it, and actually there are some bits that you don't need, which are probably for
they're pylons again. So I'm not sure if they are Invader pylons or perhaps even Hercules pylons. I don't know, because I don't think the Invader ever carried the Firebee 2. I think most of them it was a exclusively Hercules DC 130. But used in a lot of used in Vietnam and stuff like that as well, and used in multiple roles. Now I ended up going down a bit of a rabbit hole this week, because if you start researching Firebee or Ryan's drones, you end up in the most Messerschmitt 109G-ish rabbit hole of variants. Seriously, it's just because when I said that this is mid-level sleek for Firebee, there is a Firebee, a supersonic variant as well, which was built. They built a couple of thousand of them, but it was also used massively in Vietnam as a Model 147 called the Lightning Bug. And that's the one that was used for all the reconnaissance work in Vietnam and stuff like that, and over China in the 60s and 70s. And there are just a massive number of variants of that with extended wings. Flew up to 75,000 feet in altitude on some of its missions. Some of them did. And they had high altitude ones, low altitude ones, nap of the earth ones. They did reconnaissance, electronic warfare, night reconnaissance, infrared reconnaissance, and they were just literally just where stuff it was too dangerous to send manned reconnaissance aircraft. They'd send these Ryan drones, these lightning bugs, as they were called.
Stephen Pryor says, I've just built the BQM34A. It's a lovely kit, but the decals are tricky to use as they tend to stick where placed and are a bit tricky to move around. They're also very delicate.
Forewarned is forearmed, isn't it? I'll bear that in mind when I get round to building mine. Thanks, Steve. But yeah, I mean, I think as long as the decals actually pull down okay, finally when they're on, hopefully hopefully that'll be the payoff if they're quite fragile and difficult to use. Is that decals that are quite fragile and difficult to use are normally the ones that end up looking pretty much the best once they're dry. I think the fix for that is lots of washing up liquid. Lots of washing up liquid, yes. Yeah, just to anything. Right, to solve the thing of what Tim Maunder sent me for my birthday. He sent me a piece of 1 3/4 inch PP FE, surprisingly useful pipe, and there you go, Tim. Oops. There you go. That's the paper shaper, but it wasn't the paper. So I need to get hold of some of the paper. If you did send me the paper as well, and it was in the package, apologies, I didn't find it. So, but I do need to. You just tore into it, didn't you? I'm sorry, I didn't. I didn't actually open the video camera box on Friday before I paused to check that they sent me the right version, because they didn't send me the right version anyway. And it reminds me, I do need to order some of this VMS varnish because you've all been raving about it, and I do need to place another order with Premium for some more of these gorgeous sanding sponges, because I am the best varnish ever. End of story. So I see Philip Jones has made a comment there about not a lot of plastic for your money. I don't know if you're talking about the drones, Philip. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at 12 or 13 pounds, something like that. I don't think it's a bad. I think it's a again, it's quality. You pay for quality these days. You know, so it's not. You know, it's not a tiny. No. Model by any. And the other thing to bear in mind is that the actual this is pence to produce. It's the rest of the package that that's your fancy packaging that's costing the money. It's a fancy. I think this is going to be one of those projects whereby the construction side of it is going to be the quickest bit. The painting side of it, the painting and masking side, is going to be the bit where you get your value for money, and then the actual decaling is also going to be a bit of. I mean, tell me that isn't a great scheme. It's even got a little shark mouth on it. Got a little shark mouth, checkers on the tail, lots of yellow, black, and red. Oh, I think they're great subjects. And actually, Philip, if you want a model that isn't much for your money, or isn't a lot. This is about blimey. 7 years ago, when I was at the Frew Model Centre, I bought, it was Hobby Boss, 70 seconds ago. It was one of those Russian armoured railway trains. Because I really fancied the look of it, and I thought, this is one of those things that I can kind of practice winter whitewashing and chipping and all those kinds of things on it. So, yeah, fabulous. I'll go for that. Bought the kit. I'm not kidding. There were more bits to assemble for the track, for the base, than there was for the actual vehicle. It was just literally a big hollow shell that you push fit some bogies into,
put a couple of guns in. That was it. Did I feel shortchanged? No, I didn't, because I was over the weekend. I was able to throw this thing together in 5 minutes. Then I started painting it and messing around with weathering and all kinds of things. So actually, for 20 quid, it wasn't a fabulous building experience, but in terms of a weekend experience, I think it was worth it. I think it was worth the 20 points I spent on it. And I do think sometimes that, we do need to go off on the deep end and try these quick projects just to kind of, get us back into the swing of things. I am eyeing up the fact that I've still got those little Zvezda tanks to build, and they're perfect because you can literally construct them on a Friday evening, paint them and weather them on the Saturday, and then literally slap the final coat of varnish on the Sunday, and you're done. So
literally a project.
Literally a weekend. Although I can turn them into 3 weeks. So anyway, right, we are rapidly coming up to the hour. So, any other business?
Any other business? No, not from me. Not unless there's any questions that are being.
Any final questions?
Any final questions before we bring this to a close in 1 hour, which is the allotted time?
No, it's not because I want to watch the football.
Oh God, really? I incidentally don't want to watch the football, so I'm going to go and carry on watching. No spoilers. I'm going to go and carry on watching something, but I can't tell you what it is because somebody will accuse me of being a spoiler. So,
no idea.
If I tell you, you'll go, "Oh, thanks for spoiling it for me."
All right, okay. I hope everybody enjoyed our cover pictures tonight, because that was all of about 10 minutes photoshopping there. But Gordon Banks. And if you've ever seen any of us in a cafe where a cake goes flying, that's literally us diving to save that piece of cake from landing on the ground there. But
and we wouldn't need any hands to catch it.
No, we wouldn't need any hands to catch it. I'm actually hoping at some stage that I was actually going to say live on air tonight. I was going to say that actually at some stage, if you've got kind of like an idle day or an afternoon, it would be jolly nice to actually meet up somewhere neutral, like, I don't know, the Helicopter Museum. And have
yes, we'll have to sort something out. Now things are starting to look a little bit potentially.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Getting to that stage where I haven't seen another human being for a year, so that's.
And trust me, if you meet up with me, you won't meet another human being anyway. So.
Boom, boom. No, it will be in the near future. Hopefully, we'll be able to sort something out and maybe drag his nibs down for cake.
And the other one.
Yeah, the other one.
The other one. He who shall not be named.
He who shall not be named, and show him helicopters and eat cake.
That's true.
Sounds like a plan for a day to me, doesn't it?
Yeah. Johan Olivier says a target tug is the most probable way that I'll actually get a model done. It therefore is priceless in my realm of not getting anything done. Well, there you go, Johan. I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to kind of like have blowout July, right? Whereby we just say to people, just grab something and build it, and get something done, even if it's a cheap and cheerful, something quick and easy. We just have like a blowout July. Everybody here has got to finish a model by the end of July. So
yeah, we'll have a gallery of pictures on here.
I might even have the gallery music as well. There is sadly we can't return your pictures, but there is a prize for everyone that's shown. And in fact, hush hush, but actually there might actually be a prize in the future. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yep, the merch. So we'll talk about. Might be talking next Sunday about our merch. So
we branched out in a merch, son, haven't we?
The official merch. You got to buy it indoors. Don't anything outdoors. Not official, right? But this is official, interesting modelling company merch. So anyway, on that note, I'd just like to say thank you to Drew for joining us tonight. Thank you to everybody who's joined in. We'll have a quick whiz through the names before we go. And here we go. We're going to say hello to Paul Milligan, Anthony Bird, Stuart Bremner, Pavel Krupovic, Ian Goldshaw, Lee Suter, Mark Ryan, David Mummery, Johan Olivier, John Patrick Huston, Brent Woodbridge, Douglas Hunter, Tim Alexander Maunden, even him as well, Maunder, Dave Swindle, Dougal McWoogle, Andy Brennan, Dave Coward, Mike Reeves, hello Michael, Michael Scott, Dave Fleming, Mike Williams, Glenn, Colin Strachan, Stephen Pryor, Wayne A. BT, scrolls down. The Interesting Modelling Company. It's so nice of them to join us because that would have been awkward. Christian Gerard, Steve Moores, scrolls down. There's many more as well. Brian Wilton, there's many more. These are the ones who've just commented. But thank you all very much for joining us on the Sunday service tonight. We will hopefully be with you Wednesday. Are you free Wednesday? Are you?
Yeah.
You are free. Okay. Yeah. Right. Well, we'll do a Wednesday. We'll pick a topic for Wednesday. And like I say, we'll also be fingers crossed back on Sunday as well. So until then, from us both, it just remains for us to say, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So bye for now.
See you later.